Where do cooperative societies originate from, and what is their purpose? The answer takes us back to the mid-19th century in the heart of England. There, a group of 28 men, all weavers and skilled workers, decided to form a cooperative society in 1844. This group, known as the Rochdale Pioneers, was the first recognised cooperative, and they established business principles and a shop to sell their goods. The rapidly changing market system was the catalyst behind their decision to unite in cooperation. Mass production was emerging, and previously sustainable entrepreneurs found themselves battling against behemoth industries that sold cheaper, albeit lower quality products. For instance, in the tea industry, large-scale producers began adding grass clippings to their tea, favouring quantity over quality. It was clear that production methods were shifting to satisfy the consumer's hunger for cheaper and more abundant goods. This change in the market system also ushered in an era of unfair labour practices. Workers lost control over their working conditions, with low pay, long hours and grim workplaces becoming the norm. The average life expectancy of an urban labourer plummeted to just 17 years. This harsh reality sparked increasing frustration among labourers. Small businesses, unwilling to adapt to these new business practices, began to falter. These companies, who prided themselves on using the finest materials and traditional production techniques, refused to resort to labour practices that disregarded workers' rights. But this meant they were unable to meet the changing market's demand for speed and quantity. This situation necessitated new organisational forms that could maintain old production methods while also providing economic security for individual producers. Since the Rochdale Pioneers, the formation of cooperatives has continued apace, with the idea of cooperative organisation reaching many regions around the world. The International Cooperative Alliance, formed in 1895 by E.V. Neal of Rochdale and Edward Owen Greening, a supporter of worker cooperation, has been instrumental in the global rise of cooperatives. Its mission was to end the warfare between capital and labour and to promote the formation of self-governing workshops. In conclusion, cooperative societies originated as a response to the changing market system and unfair labour practices of the mid-19th century. The Rochdale Pioneers were the first to form such a society, establishing principles that have guided cooperatives ever since. Today, cooperatives continue to evolve and spread across the globe, providing economic security and respect for individual producers. The International Cooperative Alliance has played a significant role in this global rise, promoting cooperation and peace between labour and capital.
Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
Have you ever pondered on the power of collective effort? How about the influence of cooperative organizations in our world today? Our journey starts back in 1895 when Edward Neal and Henry Greening recognized the potential of cooperatives to combat market trends. They envisioned a world where workers owned a share of the business and governed themselves. This vision led to the birth of the International Cooperative Alliance, or ICA, founded on principles that had already proven successful in Rochdale Coops for 50 years prior. As we journeyed into the 20th century, the ICA began to flourish, spreading its wings across Europe, Canada, and parts of Africa. In the United States, Centers for Cooperative Business and Study, primarily focused on agriculture, also embraced the ICA's values. Whether officially connected with the ICA or not, cooperatives worldwide subscribe to the same core set of principles. The ICA thus stands as a beacon for cooperatives globally, promoting the values of cooperative organization. The heart of the ICA and cooperatives at large lies in the 7 ICA principles. These principles, while interpreted differently across various contexts, form the bedrock of most cooperative organizations. The essence, solving common problems through combined action. But that's not all. Empowerment, shared ownership, and democratic control also emerge as key concepts of cooperative ideology. Through shared values, principles, and experiences, members of cooperatives become bound to each other. Cooperatives strive to strike a balance, juggling the needs of individuals with those of the community. They foster individual empowerment within the framework of membership, demanding responsibility to the group. As J. Langmore noted in his 1997 article in the ICA Review, cooperatives enhance the material conditions and well-being of members through collective action. Today, the ICA represents nearly 1 billion individual members across 96 countries, making it one of the largest non-governmental organizations in the world. The United States holds the largest number of individual members, followed by China, India, Japan, and Indonesia. 4 of the top 5 countries by membership are in Asia, with France leading in Europe. Iran, Canada, the United Kingdom, and Bangladesh also contribute significantly to the ICA's membership. In summary, the journey of the International Cooperative Alliance is a testament to the power of collective effort and shared ownership. From its inception in 1895 to its current global influence, the ICA has remained steadfast in promoting the principles and values of cooperative organizations. The impact of cooperatives extends far beyond the individual, fostering a sense of community, responsibility, and empowerment. And so, the legacy of Neil and Greening continues, reminding us that together we can indeed make a difference.
Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
Ever wondered how cooperatives function and what sets them apart from corporations? Well, the answer lies in their structure, ownership, and governance. Cooperatives are member-owned entities that aim to meet their members' social, economic, and cultural needs. They come in all shapes and sizes, from small informal associations to large incorporated organizations. But one thing remains constant. Every member has an equal say in the cooperative's decisions, regardless of the number of shares they own or their role in the organization. This democratic approach to business is a significant departure from the traditional corporate model. In a corporation, control is often tied to the number of shares an individual owns. The more shares you have, the more influence you wield. But in a cooperative, every member has an equal voice. This type of participatory governance encourages resource sharing and a democratic management style. Now, you might be wondering about the legal status of cooperatives. Well, just like corporations, incorporated cooperatives have a separate legal identity. They can enter into contracts and incur debts independently of their members. The members and employees are not liable for the cooperative's obligations and debts, and only in rare circumstances are their directors liable for its debts. But what sets cooperatives apart from corporations is how they serve their members and distribute profits. Cooperatives offer products and services to their members, and members who use these services may receive a share of the profits, known as a patronage dividend. This is a stark contrast to corporations, where profits are typically distributed to shareholders based on the number of shares they own. Speaking of shares, let's delve a bit deeper into that. Cooperatives generally issue par value shares, which do not increase in value. The cooperative handles share redemption rather than negotiations between members. On the other hand, corporations issue shares that can fluctuate in value with any sale depending on demand and the agreed exchange value between the selling and purchasing parties. As for the directors, both cooperatives and corporations elect them based on the rules set out in their articles. The primary difference lies in the minimum number of directors required. Cooperatives usually require a minimum of 2 or 3 directors, given their member-centric nature. Corporations, however, must have at least 1 director, with the minimum being higher for publicly traded corporations. In summary, cooperatives and corporations differ significantly in their structure, ownership, governance, and profit distribution. While they both serve their members or shareholders, cooperatives place a higher emphasis on meeting social, economic, and cultural needs and fostering a democratic participatory environment. Corporations, on the other hand, focus more on maximizing shareholder value. So, whether you're part of a cooperative or a corporation, understanding these differences can help you navigate the world of business more effectively.
Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
Ever wondered what distinguishes a cooperative from a corporation? It's not just the name, these two entities operate on entirely different principles. Cooperatives and corporations, though both business entities, function on contrasting foundations. Understanding the differences can make a world of difference when deciding where to work, shop, or invest. Cooperatives are democratic organizations in which members have equal voting rights, regardless of the number of shares they hold. While some jurisdictions may not allow proxy voting, members can sometimes elect delegates to represent them if permitted by the cooperative bylaws. On the contrary, corporations offer proportional voting rights to shareholders based on the number of shares owned. Proxy voting is available in corporations, enabling shareholders to exercise their collective voting power jointly. When it comes to capital surplus, cooperatives often have limitations, especially nonprofit cooperatives, which do not distribute surpluses. Any payments made are typically based on the members' engagement with the cooperative activities. Corporations, however, have no such limits on the distributions of their share capital. Cooperatives come in various types, each serving a unique purpose. Consumer and purchasing cooperatives are businesses owned and managed by their customers, aiming to provide goods and services to their members. These cooperatives can be found in several industries, including retail, grocery, healthcare, and utilities. Financial cooperatives provide financial and insurance services to their members. An excellent example of a financial cooperative is a credit union, owned and managed by members with a common need for financial services. These range from small community-owned banks to large entities, like the Navy Federal Credit Union, the largest cooperative for financial services in the U.S., boasting over 11 million members. Producer and processing cooperatives, on the other hand, focus on producing, processing, and marketing the goods and services of their members. These cooperatives, often found in the agricultural industry, aim to realize economies of scale by pooling resources to market and supply value-added products and services. In a nutshell, cooperatives and corporations differ in their voting rights, capital surplus distribution, and overall purpose. Cooperatives operate on democratic principles, with equal voting rights for all members and restrictions on capital surplus distribution, while corporations offer proportional voting rights and unlimited capital surplus distribution. Understanding these differences can help navigate the business world more effectively. Remember, the choice between a cooperative and a corporation is not just about preference, but also about the principles that matter most to you.
Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
Ever pondered about the global influence of cooperatives? Yes, those member-owned and democratically controlled enterprises that are driven by values and not just profit. Their impact is more significant and far-reaching than you might imagine. Take a journey to France, where 21,000 cooperatives provide over 1 million jobs, which represents 3.5% of the active working population. A remarkable feat, isn't it? Now let's hop over to Kenya. Here, a staggering 63% of the population derive their livelihoods from cooperatives. That's roughly 250,000 Kenyans who are either employed by or earn most of their income from cooperatives. In Colombia, the cooperative movement provides direct employment to more than 137,000 individuals, and an additional 559,000 jobs as worker owners and workers' cooperatives. That's 3.65% of all jobs in the country. Even in Indonesia, cooperatives have a significant role to play, providing jobs to almost 300,000 individuals. Over in the United States, 30,000 cooperatives provide more than 2 million jobs. Imagine that. In Denmark, consumer cooperatives held over a third of the consumer retail market back in 2007. And in Japan, the agricultural cooperatives report outputs of $90 billion, with 91% of all Japanese farmers being members. In Mauritius, cooperators play an essential role in the agricultural sector. Nearly half of sugarcane planters are grouped in cooperatives. In Côte d'Ivoire, cooperatives invested $26 million into setting up schools, building rural roads, and establishing maternal clinics in 2002. In New Zealand, 22% of the gross domestic product is generated by cooperative enterprise. They are responsible for 95% of the dairy market and the export dairy market. In Uruguay, cooperatives produce 90% of the total milk production, 340% of honey, and 30% of wheat. 60% of cooperative production is exported to over 40 countries around the world. In Canada, 4 out of every 10 Canadians are members of at least one cooperative. In Malaysia, 6.78 million people, or 27% of the total population, are members of cooperatives. And finally, in Norway, out of a population of 4.8 million people, 2 million are members of cooperatives. So, what's the takeaway from these case studies? Cooperatives, my friends, are not just about local communities or small-scale industries. They are a global force, a movement that contributes significantly to economic development, job creation, and social cohesion. Cooperatives have a far-reaching impact that transcends borders and cultures, proving that working together, we can create a sustainable future for all.
Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.